Live. We're preparing to live stream.
It is being live streamed now. We are back.
Good afternoon, everybody.
We never really went anywhere. Well, we went everywhere and nowhere all at once.
I think I waited long enough. It's 5:38 my time for a drink, so I've already beat our record, right? Like I held off long enough.
I know. Cheers.
I'm too impressed. I'm still on water. I'm still in recovery mode. My liver is very angry with me. So for anybody just joining us today, it is Monday afternoon, the 20th, and the Double Dfense team has just returned late last night from what was a very successful New York trip. For at least two-thirds of us, it was very successful.
Yeah. I was saying to my dad last night, like Thursday night wasn't so bad. Like we lost, but it was like more of a game. Like there's more things happening. By the fourth goal scored Saturday night, I was like, fuck this. I'm like, just going to enjoy the experience.
Well, at least you got to cheer. That was a good thing. At least you got to cheer your team on, that day, which is great. Yeah. Nobody wearing black and yellow had a chance to cheer on Saturday night.
No, and there was certainly more camaraderie amongst the two fan bases. I think Thursday night, Saturday got dirty, I think, and rightfully so. I mean, if it was the other way, I think we probably would have been the same.
And just to take a step back, as we may have some new followers who we have met last week in New York. You are listening to Double Dfense. We are an all-female New York Rangers hockey podcast made up of two lady New York Ranger fans based in Southern California and a Pittsburgh Penguins fan that is Sarah, based in Calgary. We all got together last week to go watch both games that the Rangers played at Madison Square Garden against Pittsburgh. So our goal for today's episode is to chat about the amazing experience that we had in New York, the hospitality of most of the New Yorkers, other than a select few who had some choice words for Sarah wearing her Penguins jersey, but we can talk about that later. And talk about the amazing little streak that the Rangers have put together, mostly thanks to us and our presence in New York. I'm fairly certain that that's what
accolades, coming in already, the thank yous and your welcomes we have to give back. So we appear to be a good luck charm, for our stint there. So that made it even better. We will let Sarah choose the next game we go to just to even it out. It'll be like Calgary and somebody, I don't know, it'll be something fun that, that we'll probably be in that position too. Yeah,
definitely. And I mean, this was a very special trip, I think, for a lot of reasons. It was the first time that the three of us had met in person, which was very exciting. We had adventures all over New York City, which we can definitely get into, and just made a lot of friends.
It'll take more than one episode. So we would have to kind of build on that, because there was so much. I mean, how many times today did you try to remember what we did on Friday, Sarah?
I know. Many times, I know. 100%. And even just like looking at, when Christine, when you and I were at Rockefeller Center, like it went by so fast, but it was such a special time. I love being at the NBC store. And like, that is so memorable. That photo that of you took with Stefan, that I took with Stefan. The whole trip was great.
Say something. If you recall, we all worked.
We did.
First time of that day. We all got up and we worked, and I had a couple meetings. You guys were doing some stuff, and we still went and did all the rest of what we did. It was at our meeting. We were gallivanting around the city. Even that first full day, of combining work and fun was, it feels like it was like 6 months ago though.
It totally does.
We covered
a long time ago.
We covered so much ground, right? Like we did so much in such a short period of time. Like it feels like we're there for so much longer than we actually were.
Yeah, and one of the things I loved about it, it had been a long time since I'd been back to New York. Certainly a very long time since I had been in Madison Square Garden. So I had not been there post all the renovations. That is a beautiful beautiful arena, full of a lot of great energy. And I think I had almost forgotten, because it's been so long since I had seen a live Rangers game, how exciting and just powerful that crowd is, and how great that arena was. I mean, we had a couple of different vantage points from where we were sitting. I think in the first game that we went to against Pittsburgh, we were kind of on the side. We were like sort of halfway down the ice, but all the way up at the top. You could see the ice. There were no restricted views, which I was super impressed with. The seats were super comfortable. Yeah, all of it was great. And then we were behind the goal for the second game, which was amazing, beautiful.
I love that place. And I'm the one that's there most frequently, of course. So it was fun. The thing I loved most was it was funny how I expected to run into more people I knew and more of my friends, which didn't happen for one reason or another. But the fact that that was you kind of, brought in everybody you knew, and we met them in all different places. And I still was able to run around the arena and find people I know, which again kind of showed you guys that it really does feel like a home away from home for me.
Yeah.
And you can see why it's like that.
It is such a community. Like the amount of people that knew like Dancing Larry and just, just everyone who, we started to see so many familiar faces, even just after being there for 2 games. And obviously, we don't want to bury the lead here. The Rangers had 2 awesome games while we were physically there. They played a few more awesome games while we were watching, as we were coming home or before we even got there. So they've been on an amazing streak. So that energy, I think in MSG, I'm guessing it's normally like a pretty energetic, awesomely fun place to watch a game. But after we were talking about the 5th hey, hey, hey goal song, I mean, we didn't even know how to keep up with that.
Well, I get out of breath every time, because if anyone saw any of the videos Liz was posting where Sarah's just drinking and we're screaming and jumping. When we score a goal, it's a little mini workout, I mean, I sometimes like to just stop, and I was trying to do that just to look around and see the wave of how everybody joins in. And it's my most curious question I have for all the other arenas. I don't know if it's maybe our goal song, and our celebration is a little bit longer, or more traditional. It was created by the organist. He's the one that kind of wrote the chant. It's not a song, it's a chant. And then that'll be the one thing that I kind of want to follow. I didn't see that, I don't see the Kings or the Ducks or even Vegas when they score. I mean, everyone has their own sellies that they do when the team scores, but there's something different about being there and watching everybody with the same wave of the arm swings and the hey, hey, heys that I just like to sit back. I just like to sit back and watch it too at the same time. But otherwise I'm in it jumping around, and then by the end you're like, I got to sit down and get a drink. Yes. And
not to mention it, seeing it 13 times in a row, with 13.
And there's something in that too.
13 unanswered goals in 2 games.
So, and that for a serious question, going to Sarah, have you been to a game where there's a lot of goals like that? You saw the energy stays the same every single goal. It did not go up and down. It's just max every time. Do you see that when you're at home going to games?
Great question. So no, I definitely think, Christine, when you said the longest goal celebration, I would definitely agree with that. I've been to, it's probably my 5th NHL arena I've been to, and no, MSG by far the on ice or in arena experience is longer, more engaging, top notch, produced as well. Definitely a league of its own. Like even in Toronto, where I think they do a really good job, the longevity is not there. It's also in Toronto, it's not for a fan experience, where I think MSG, the world's greatest arena.
Most famous arena. That's right. Every time we do need to say it every time.
I'm going to get a bell for that now. Ding, ding.
I do think they do a top-notch job at ensuring that that level is there. Like their team performs at a high level, their fans are at a high level, their on ice experience is at a high level. That just checks all the boxes there. Yeah, I don't know, longevity, but the vibe, you're right. It's an atmosphere. Like you can't just, that's not just created. Like it's a maintained, like it's not just expected. There's a whole special thing happening in there. I wish you could kind of put it in a bottle and transfer it around, but you can't. It was pretty awesome. Yeah, I've been to the Bell Center, I've been to the ACC, I've been to Saddledome in Calgary, I've been to Edmonton, and now I've been to MSG. And yeah, there's just nothing like it. It's definitely in a league of its own. And I do think, having walked around MSG now, I think they must have based the new Edmonton Arena off MSG. There's so many similarities to it. It definitely stands out for me in comparison to like Toronto or to Calgary or to Montreal.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I love the character that's in it. Like there's like a history, even though it's a new arena. And one of the things that I really disliked about the new Yankee Stadium is I felt like when they redid it, it lost some of like that history feel. Like it lost a little bit of like the character, and it felt very polished. And MSG, it felt very polished, but didn't lose that charm at all. Like it still felt like kind of a local. You're still your local team. You're still celebrating all the amazing moments. Like everywhere you went, there was some cool, like the picture that you showed me of, was it Lundqvist with the playing guitar that's up on the top? Yeah, like that was everywhere. Like every little,
yeah, that's right there.
Everywhere you would glance, there would be something. There would be some kind of like date or memorabilia or something like that. And that was so fun. I love that.
That I did the tour there. And again, like one of the things was they renovated it. They made sure that every single seat has an unobstructed view.
Yeah.
You'll see, we didn't walk around to see, but there might be seats in a little corner where you're like, I don't want those, but you can see everything. And then they have the new bridge, which you just have that bird's eye view of everything. So every seat is, and they even kept the history. So there is a section of old blue seats, for the originals and stuff.
I have a real clear memory of going to a game with my dad, and we sat in the nosebleed seats, and because of the obstructed view, they basically had installed TV monitors. So you were at the game, but you're still watching half the game on television. Now with that bridge, it's a really effective way of making sure that every single seat has, full ice view. We did have televisions installed in front of us when we were behind the goal, which was very funny because the TVs were tuned into the Rangers, but partway through the game, I think at goal 5, there were a couple of Pittsburgh Penguins fans who decided to change the channel. So
I didn't see that behind us. What were you watching, Sarah?
I didn't notice that, but I'm not shocked. It was
watching Nickelodeon.
There was a guy like 2 rows down from us who was watching, like he turned it to a true crime documentary. So he was watching that. I saw another guy he was watching basketball on his phone. I mean, yeah, we can't, again, not bearing the lead here. The Rangers did have a stellar performance, and we are very sorry, Sarah, that you flew all that way. But we had a great time. Thank you for your support.
It's not the Penguins; it'll be a different vibe.
Yeah, for sure. But like, it's also bucket list though, right? Like it's my 3rd time to New York, my 1st time at MSG, like first and second time, I guess, at MSG. It was just incredible. Totally off topic, but my favorite, like, I love popcorn. I have a problem. I have to say the MSG popcorn was like the best arena popcorn I've ever had. Whatever they're doing, I don't know if it's the box, because I often see in bags here in Canada. Huge shout out to that team. Whoever puts that together is delicious. Not a fan of having to run for my beer before the 3rd period starts. Like that part could use some work, but I understand the bigger issues at stake there with ownership and the state. But it's cool. Also, king cans. We only get tall cans in Canada. You guys get king cans at the game. Well worth it for that.
Yeah,
that's well different. That's not like that in LA. In LA, Liz and I were getting double vodkas, for $100, so it's nicely priced.
Yeah, actually,
right there and right available outside every section. Yeah.
Well, it also probably helped that we drank all day before we got to the game too. That I think kept the tab a little bit lighter by the time we got into the actual game.
Apparently, we drank all the Irish coffees on Saturday at Molly Wee's.
Every single Irish coffee. There was
They
not
were
an Irish
so-
coffee
We
that
don't
was
have
not
any
drunk.
coffee left.
They were
The
so
whole
good.
city.
They were so nummy.
I think we could do an entire episode on, if you are a Rangers fan planning a weekend in New York to go see a game, I think we have an itinerary for you. If you have any questions on where to
I dare
go
them to keep up
before
with
games.
ours. It's
We
a
can-
challenge.
Yeah.
Just we'll lay out ours and we dare you to keep up. With where we went, how we went there, what we drank.
And I have to say, what a fun experience, especially on Saturday, kind of wandering around the city all day wearing our jerseys and starting to see people. I think we saw the first person wearing a jersey around 2:00 in the afternoon. So you could do a little scavenger hunt in the city and find people. And Sarah found plenty of Pittsburgh Penguins fans walking around too. There was just a real good energy and vibe sort of leading up to that game, especially, the fact that we were also there over St. Patrick's Day, which is a huge deal in New York.
Yes, every 2 feet is a Irish pub all over that city.
Sarah's fascinated by that.
We found the oldest one too. Fabulous. I mean, I had so much fun there. So we ended up at McSorley's. I did feel nervous for you for a little bit. I actually felt more nervous for Steve because at least you're cute and petite and little, but Steve's a big guy. He can't really squeeze through. And you could tell nobody was shy that worked at that place because we walked up and they're like, Rangers fans come in, Penguins fans, you got to go all the way down the end of the line. You're last to come in.
Yes, that was definitely something, just touching on that through the whole trip. And definitely more so Saturday, and especially after the game Saturday. I'm used to watching hockey with a bunch of my friends who we all have different teams. We all were just watching the game. We're all just happy to watch the game. Doesn't matter who's playing. It's very different in New York. New York is very protective of and very black or white. Pardon the reference, but just very black or white in how they, this is your team, this is my team, and we're not going to get along at all. So when they saw us together, it was a very, very different. We got a lot of comments on that.
I think for the most part, it was all very good natured, especially before the game. It was, I think it was a lot of sort of good natured back and forth. I think there's a couple of people who have, one too many drinks in, I guess in the second period, and then start a little chirping.
Let's address the chirper yelling that Penguins should go home, who was wearing the Blackhawks jersey at the Ranger game. I was like, what are you doing? Or the wandering Jersey Devils guys on Friday,
and Tampa.
Thursday. I don't even think of the day where I was like, "Are you guys lost?" I'm like, I don't even know where you guys came from.
Yeah. So, what are they chirping about?
Yeah, I would love to do a better poll. I mean, I think the Islanders are the bigger rivalry for most fans. Because the Island, because there was one guy at McSorley's who was okay with, he was tolerant of you guys as Penguins because they were going to play the Islanders and he couldn't even compliment the Islanders, or he couldn't compliment you because he's an Islander fan, he couldn't compliment us. Wait, I have to just catch up. He couldn't compliment the Rangers because he's an Islander fan, but because the Penguins are dueling for that spot, he kind of had to root for us, but he didn't want to admit it. I mean, it's such a coordinated choice of words for people because their rivalries are intense and they're solid. And it could be the Devils. It's mostly the Islanders. For me, it's the Capitals. I think there's a few other people in there that are like that. All these teams are really close in proximity. They're also all in our division. And so, it goes all the way back probably through their parents and the grandparents and stuff.
These are generational rivalries for sure that have been
Definitely.
inherited, which is great. It's super fun. It really makes a sport, legacy and, the history, I think is totally there.
Definitely. We could talk about that Capitals game if you want, Tuesday night when we got there.
That's right. We found after all of the joking and back and forth about finding a bar that would actually put on the animated version of the game next to the regular version of the game. So for anybody who didn't follow all of that, on Tuesday, the 14th, the Rangers took on the Capitals. The game was on ESPN, but it was also on the Disney Channel, and it was animated in the style of a Disney cartoon show, complete with flying chicken referees, and Igor was in
And
net,
a grandma,
but it was
and a grandma goalie. Don't forget.
And we found a bar that actually put on both, so we could watch them side by side, and it was a very funny experience. I think everybody was very confused by all of it.
They were confused by us. Then it just kept getting better.
And a special shout out to the Staten Island Fire Department, who took very good care of us.
And Castleton Corners Pub.
Yes,
absolutely, because that's where we were. They were very quick to entertain us and allow us to watch that.
And give us some amazing free sandwiches, which we ate all week. Thank you.
They fed us, they gave us drinks, they chatted with us. There was so much going on. And all the while we were watching the game, watching the cartoon version, the music was really loud. Still, it's so loud.
But it was all 80s and 90s, which was great.
It was all like, yeah, great conversation. Not a lot of talk about that animated version too much afterward. I think it came up in conversation a little bit. A lot of people did miss it. And I didn't see any more talk about where it was going. I know we were discussing it because, if it was an attempt to bring in younger kids to it, actually there were a lot of kids at the game on Saturday. You probably should ask them, but
yeah, actually there were a fair amount of kids at that game, definitely more than Thursday night.
I think our take was too that, since it was on Disney, you already have to be subscribing to it to see it. So it really, in my opinion, it wasn't really made to draw on anybody, because who's going to subscribe just to see that? People probably watched, it was probably people just like us watching it. The guys did turn it off after the first period, which was fine. We watched a little bit afterward and got more of a glimpse as to what was happening in the background, like the giraffes and the animals. I don't know what that was about. There's a lot more to it that didn't make any sense. But it was a good try. Another first for the NHL. I don't think it's going to go on the great idea list. It's just going to that happen. We had a lot of better records this week than anything, than that. That was so long ago. But Saturday and Sunday, just we started nailing some NHL firsts too, so that works.
I think this needs to be a separate episode. Like, what is Bettman? What is on his great idea list? Like, where is he just sitting there, like in his robe, like go like, oh, that's a great idea. I'm gonna put that on there.
He had that crazy commercial with it, where the kid character from Big City Greens is like, I broke my TV and we really want to watch hockey, or we want to watch, and he was like, I can do that. It was terrible. Everything about it was terrible. And I think I posted it, like, if Bettman answered my phone call, I'd have a lot more questions to ask than just this one.
Well,
so
and take the show part away, and just like, if it was just an animated game in general, not based on characters or anything, just the team animated, I think it could have been different and it could have been a lot easier to follow. But is it like legacy, like truly? And I mean, we've had this conversation a million times now, but like, is it, he's getting old, he's got to be done soon, he doesn't look like he's in great health. Is it about like trying to like leave on like, I'd made this big deal for the league, this is like his legacy, he's going to be remembered for something really positive, because we all know he's not loved.
I think it's a distraction from all the shitty calls the refs have been making last season. So, and that's what I think it's a distraction. It was like, let's do this and we'll distract and deter from the real issues at hand. So I think that's an interesting thing.
Well, he's lucked out this season, whether it is the refs calls or what, but there have been so many just like big, powerful moments. We've talked about, how many games are going to overtime now, and how, those are the moments that get people into hockey. Those are the moments that go super, super viral. I saw this meme today, or someone posted something on Twitter, complaining about why people think hockey is boring. And they said something like, these men are literally going full speed on knife shoes. How could that be boring? I just thought that was the funniest thing.
Why is that boring? I'm like,
yeah, that's not
that's a
boring at
problem with
all.
that. Why is that boring?
It's not.
The word knife shoes is not boring. I'm like, knife shoes? I need those. I would kill myself. You know, personally. That could be a whole show on its own. Watching me skate. We did. Oh, and by the way, we did earn some new nicknames back at the first night.
That's
So
right.
people who didn't know who we were, it was a game night. We do come representing our teams. So even though I had Ranger stuff on,
Yeah, I did.
Sarah was Canada because that's all they could hear over the loud music. Was that she was from
Or
Canada.
that's all they chose to hear.
Liz was wearing blue, so she was like
Blue
blue
shirt.
shirt girl. And then I was taller than everybody in the bar, so I was tall girl. Except for one guy. I think one guy was taller than me. and
Yeah,
there was a question that came up about how tall I am. I am 6 feet tall, so I'm kind of normal. None of us wore heels either, so that was good in itself too, because it would have evened us out or made it really bad. You know, I don't wear heels, so it's fine. So, and then Liz is what? You're 5'4"?
I'm 5'4", yeah.
Yeah. And then we have little cute Sarah, who's
That's why, especially in the Penguins jersey, we have to keep her in between us just for protection.
we did protect her a little bit.
So speaking of that, I did want to chat a little bit about the game, and we don't have to go into it, but I think inquiring minds want to know. Obviously the Rangers played exceptionally well. They played well on Thursday. The score I think was 4-2. The Penguins had a decent showing. What happened, Sarah, to the Penguins between Thursday and Saturday? Because Saturday, I think we came in expecting sort of a rough game. I think we expected something, a lot more physical. The Rangers came out, they just kept scoring and scoring. I know Pittsburgh pulled their goalie. I think it was after 4 goals. What
halfway through the first? Do you remember? It's so cool. Well, no, it wasn't the first time they pulled up?
I think
No, it was in the beginning of the second, I think.
Yeah, they didn't score. It wasn't as fast as they scored all those goals yesterday against Nashville.
I'm mixing the games up. It was so much.
And to see, and I have to say, to see Shesterkin get that shutout. Once we were obviously at a comfortable lead, I started thinking like how great it would be for Shesterkin to get a shutout, especially this year. And we got to see it, which was incredible. And then Halak to get the shutout last night, winning 7-0 was just amazing. But Sarah, just from a fan perspective, we went into that game thinking we were going to see one thing. It was a very different game with a different, very different pacing. What do you think was going on with the Penguins?
And before you do that, I'm going to back it up just one little bit too, because we were at a bar with all of Trouba's family. So not only do we have our own thoughts as to how these two games are going to go, but then we see all of Trouba's family, and his dad and grandma and uncles are like 8 feet tall. They're this massive. And there was a theory that Trouba was going to put on a show on Thursday night. That didn't happen, and so I just want to tie that in there too, because we were anticipating things. We were, and nothing really went the way we expected it to go.
Yeah, I think that's a great reference. I almost forgot about that until you said it. So, yeah, sitting there Thursday night. I'm in the corner. Christine's beside me. Liz and her friends are beside me. We're having a great conversation, and I keep seeing these people at that Trouba table. I see this one guy who all
signed, all autographed.
All autographed jerseys. I'm like, oh, this guy, he looks like he wants to talk to me about my jersey. That's what I was thinking initially. And then as I'm paying attention a little closer, oh no, they're all taking their turn, glaring at me. And I had my Malkin jersey on Thursday night, and I was rightfully so, glare away. What we're all not saying is that I think we all expected that Trouba and Malkin to kind of have it out again based on the game on Sunday in Pittsburgh, where Trouba had a clean hit on Malkin, and that was that. And I think the consensus when we talked to anybody Thursday was that, we expected a good game. We're hoping for a little bit of rivalry, but I think we were all in agreement, no matter who we talked to in the last couple of days, everyone expected Saturday night to be the big game, to be a big fight, to have a big physical mentality and presence, and that didn't happen. So I think by the time the third goal was scored, I was and I remember just seeing more people laying flat out on the ice, they're just tired. They look tired. I just thought, did y'all go out for St. Patrick's Day? Like, I don't think that's a far stretch, certainly based on their performance. I don't know. I didn't see anything, but that's just what I suspect. There's a lot of pressure on that game to show up and perform and kind of, let's like put all these things to bed and like, let's have it out the way that, you know, the whole season has led them to for all their matchups. And that didn't happen. So I really don't know if they're hungover, which is what I suspect. It's disappointing. I mean, a lot of people showed up to see a lot more happen. Also, I think you've just shown us that you really don't want to go to the playoffs. And I've said this many times over our season of our podcast. They have these little glimpses of hope where I'm like, okay, you're in it. Let's do something. And then they have these other moments where they're just like, they're tired and they're not trying. I think something's happening internally. I'm not quiet about Ron Hextall and his GM position, that he's not liked. He gets booed a lot. And I definitely think something else is happening internally. But as far as their performance goes Saturday, I just think they went out the day before. You're in New York City and it's St. Patrick's Day. Why wouldn't you go out?
Well, you know, it's not like they're far from like from there and they can't do it. Yeah, I kind of read it. I even watching both teams perform both days, sometimes, you know, I know a lot of fans and there's a point now where we only have 10, 15 games left. I mean, we're really kind of coming in that home stretch. We're doing really well. It's the perfect time to be good. We're timing it right. Lindgren's been out. He's expected back tomorrow, I hope. And so we're starting to see everybody kind of settle in and click from whatever jet lag, moving, trading positions and everything. And this is really, I almost feel like the timing is good on it too. I didn't really feel that if everyone's expecting the Rangers to come out playing like boss and just like bulldozing everybody every time, I think that the Rangers can up their physicality more. I think this is what we're talking about on Saturday. I was surprised with knowing the games that the Rangers had coming up, why the Penguins weren't even at least physical, just to kind of even make them a little sore for, back to back, knowing that they have Carolina tomorrow and Thursday, coming up. So
or even just trying to change the pacing.
For me, I'm like, isn't there strategy in this game?
Oh, I know. And like, I mean, the Penguins are playing Ottawa right now and they're in Pittsburgh and Ottawa's winning 1-0. And I mean, I don't think Ottawa has anything to gain either out of this. Like, they're not heading anywhere. And Pittsburgh, if they do not make the playoffs, it'll be the first time in 17 years, which is fine. They've put in their time, but you still got to show up, and I really don't know. When Jari got pulled, as we say many times, goalies do not win games, they save them. But he was definitely by himself and they just looked like they were on a whole other planet and not in a great way Saturday night.
Yeah, totally agree. And, obviously the Rangers had a real good showing against Nashville yesterday, winning that game 7-0, but that was not the same circumstances as the Penguins. No. Nashville is super injured. They were missing a lot of their top players. Like that's, So that game against Pittsburgh it was just, it got to a point that it was just like weird. It's like, come on, guys, like we came here. Why would the Penguins not try to at least change the momentum a little bit? You're down that much. You don't have much to lose at that point. Just weird from a strategy standpoint. Yeah, it just seemed like strategy. If they had one, I didn't understand it.
Also, all the experience there. It's not Pittsburgh's, especially with that team. It's not Pittsburgh's first time in that arena. They know how to handle that crowd. They know how to handle being there. Sometimes the pressure of being in a building like that, it's not their first rodeo. So it's pretty disappointing. We had the good fortune of seeing some players walk in and coaches Thursday, and we saw Mike Sullivan. He looked pretty confident. He looked happy. He didn't think, even just seeing him outside, didn't look like there's anything else going on. So
maybe Christine's smile distracted him. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe the whole time he was like, who was that beautiful woman that I saw walking in Thursday night, and just forgot to coach.
He did smile.
He did smile. I know, you had a moment with him. Nicely done.
I'll take one for the team here. That was funny.
But I mean, it'll come to the end of the season. If the Penguins don't make the playoffs, I think everyone will kind of look back onto this. I mean, especially this week, and go, okay, what happened here? it'll be interesting to see how things play out. And then, especially if the Rangers and the Penguins, do eventually meet up again in the playoffs, how that would potentially go.
Yeah. So looking at this week too, I mean, this is our week. We got to do this. We have to keep this momentum going. And we're taking on the number 1 team in our division. So we got to do this. It's a huge 4 points. We can catch up. Carolina and the Devils they're right there. We're within reach. It's doable. It's reachable. This is just us vying for positioning and who we're going to play. And so you guys are right there doing the same thing for different reasons, trying to, clinch those points are all tight. Everyone's within a game or so of each other now. We've kind of evened out. And look, after the end of next week, we're down to just like this many games or less.
Yeah, it's a handful. So as Christine was saying, the Rangers are playing the Hurricanes tomorrow and Thursday. So those are a big 4 points. And then the Panthers on Saturday, March 25th, which will be that game is going to be more important for the Panthers than the Rangers. But the Panthers are sort of a little bit of a dark horse. They are still. Yeah. Yes, they're still quite potentially in this. And have the experience. I think they won the President's Cup last year. I think it was last year. They had a great record. This is not a team to be counted out either. So there's some interesting games coming up. It looks like the Penguins do a little
easy for us.
Ever. Yeah. Looks like the Penguins have some and the Penguins have some games on the road coming up too, which that's always rough, especially at the end of a season like that.
Yeah. I think this is a time, they're not going to, in my opinion, they're not going to go very far into the playoffs if they get there. But I think the summer is we take some time to start rebuilding a little bit. I mean, it's not a huge rebuild, but there definitely needs to be some young blood and some money and time invested into kind of getting that aligned. Take some notes from the Rangers. You guys have a young team. You have great players.
And they took notes from other teams.
Yeah.
Mainly, again, I always stand by it. The Golden Knights kind of paved the way for that. And a lot followed. So I think, Sarah, it's good for you. Like if you're watching, I'm going to start trying to watch some of the other games too. As we kind of hit this home stretch, because I find it pretty interesting. Because I was noticing too that even Crosby wasn't. I didn't feel like he was trying, to do his thing. His effort level wasn't there, and I'm seeing that. It's probably just my point of view because of the way I feel about that anyway. Like Ovechkin, like they're not doing well, but it's quieted down. Yeah, he hit his his numerical milestone, but then it quieted down. And only when you get together with other people do they start kind of throwing Crosby into the mix. But he's quieting down otherwise. The chance, I guess I haven't been there for a Penguins game because here I am saying like typically I'm not hearing a chance when I heard this last week when I'm there, but like the Crosby sucks chant was just loud.
Oh my God.
I liked when they started when they started chanting Jari to get back at the Penguins fans remember when they started chanting Igor's name when he let in a goal. That was a nice little payback that I thought was
chanting Jari's name like 20 minutes after he was already off the ice.
But Rangers fans do not forget. I think that was well deserved though. It was well deserved to give him a little bit of pardon my French, but give him a little bit of shit for what they had done to the Rangers as well.
I'll tell you something, even though it was 6-0, and they did have a lot of shots on goal, a lot of them weren't great, but some were really good. So Igor did make some great saves, and gotta give a shout out. I get so nervous. I was texting Liz on the plane because they were like, "You have no Wi-Fi." I'm like, no. And I was about ready. It's funny. I was about ready to kind of say something about Halak, but I don't want to jinx it.
Me too.
I want my guy to get a shout out. I'm like, oh no, you said it.
I know. I was like, I'm just going to go for it.
I lost everything in the third period, like, and I actually had DirecTV, but it was funny. I got all the channels except for the NHL network, which I think I got on the way out there. Maybe I just had an older plane, and I couldn't get that. And everything else had March Madness. I did watch
Yeah.
women's basketball, so I will segue to that was a great game between it was Ole Miss and I don't know this other team. And it was a nail biter at the end. Actually, it's pretty exciting, but I was waiting for Sports Center to start so I can see the score, the final score. So I was able to listen to the first two periods on the plane. And so I didn't miss much after that.
I listened and I was like, I was hearing them score over and over again. I started like looking around. I'm like, is anybody else listening to this? Like, I don't think anybody is.
I was in the airport, like silently. Well, I wasn't even quiet sometimes. I didn't care.
Going back to Saturday, and Crosby sucks. I've seen the Penguins play before. I guess probably mostly the times I've seen them was in Toronto, but never witnessed anything like that ever. And my husband on Saturday was just like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I think it's just here." But yeah, I've that whole negative Nelly engagement. They really hate Pittsburgh in that building. It was really
yeah. Well, look, you've heard me kind of preach about it, where I don't really like it, and it's a staple in when you go to the Kings. It's a staple when you go to the Ducks. Where their mascot will put a pie into an opposing fan's face. I mean, it's just a staple, and maybe I didn't even see it at the Islander game either, really. So, and it wasn't a team thing; it was a Crosby thing. Yeah. But I'm kind of with them, as you know. I'm like, I don't mind that, but that guy, no one can stand. So, unfortunately, you're out of luck on that one. So,
well, and the fact that
I didn't cheer, but I didn't mind it.
Yeah, the lack of effort, though, as you're both saying, from his part on Saturday, I do think is a reflection of whatever's happening internally. I don't, he doesn't seem like one that just goes and lights it up either on St. Patrick's Day. I do think they probably went out, but I also suspect that there's something happening internally, and perhaps he's just kind of like, fuck it, you guys are gonna be like this internally, then we don't have to do anything. Like, who knows? He is the captain. He's setting the tone. I don't know.
Well, this can go over to here too. So that's a great kind of segue. So I'm going to kind of pose a question to you, Liz. Not my captain, Truba, whose family sat 3 feet from us and was fabulous, talking to his aunt and uncle, and his dad was really sweet. He held it up. I mean, where people actually expected him to, where he had a clean hit and then people were talking about it. He's had some great clean hits, getting, and having to defend himself on those. And the team's doing really well. And again, this is a captain who was voted by his own team, to be captain. What kind of influence do you think he's had on these guys as we're, now with the trades coming in and people coming off the injured list? What do you think may be happening behind the scenes there with him?
I think that's a great question. I obviously, when all the trades happens, when Tarasenko came over and Kane first came over, and Kane was also very surprisingly quiet in the last two games.
I think we're gonna have like a triple bromance, trifecta here, because I'm gonna say Kane got so jealous seeing how happy Panarin and Tarasenko were together. He couldn't stand it. He just couldn't stand it.
There's definitely still some internal challenges that are happening, and I am going to guess, I mean, obviously not knowing any specifics or anything like that, but Trouba, I think, has really stepped up, and I think at the beginning of the season, I think he struggled, and I think that was evident by the way that the Rangers, I mean, we've talked about this, the beginning of the season, they were blowing big leads. The way that they were playing, it did not look like they were going to make the playoffs at all, let alone potentially be a contender for the cup this year. That completely changed. I don't want to say it's entirely due to the Trouba helmet throw, but a big reversal happened at that time. And I almost wonder if it dawned on him at that moment that something needed to change and that he needed to step up. And then that started to happen following that he really needed to take that leadership. I mean, it's a big step up for him. He's still young. He's not one of the oldest on the team. So maybe, that occurrence and that string of games that led to that frustration was what sort of sent him into a new direction of leadership. Obviously, with the trades, there have been challenges, but it seems like everyone except for maybe Kane right now is starting to mesh. I think Tarasenko looks good. I think Mikola started to kind of
points in there.
Yeah, definitely. It was great to see Hedel score again. Kreider and Mika are obviously, still the stars that they are, and they don't seem to have lost any luster, even with the trades. And that's the other thing that's been super powerful, is how many different scorers there'll be in 13 goals, and there was not one hat trick. So we didn't have one player who was, hogging the puck or anything like that. We had goals from just about everyone, and Miller, who's also not always my favorite player, but that's really more a comment on him defensively. But he was excellent offensively yesterday, setting a record for the first, I think, 4-point period for a defenseman in a game for the Rangers, which was really exciting. So he really has
a franchise record. So.
Yeah, he was looking, but he was doing great. So I think if this is just the beginning of Trouba's reign, then I think there's a lot we can look forward to.
I've kind of always said that too, because the one good thing, we don't hear what they discuss in the locker room between them. What I do like is afterward when they have the Broadway hat and they pass around, and we do get clips and glimpses of that, which I'm glad that they kind of share, because I think it's important to show that the support that each team gives in front of a camera and behind a camera to each other. It's really cute, where someone will get the hat and they're like, you think I deserve, but I think this guy deserves it. And they're very wholesome and humble with everything they do. It's one of the reasons why I love this team. Actually, and I know we can definitely talk about it like next time too, is, again, we see, because we follow these feeds where we're seeing the Rangers feed, and we're seeing behind the locker room, we're seeing down the alley where they're doing the players of the game, and we're seeing the reactions. It was cute. They just had Panarin's where he was the third player of the game, and they're starting to show that more, which I like to see. And I don't know if if the other teams get that kind of look at their team and how they are kind of behind the scenes as much as we do. I think kind of we get that too a little bit more.
I also like the focus. I know there was a lot of backlash when, like, Shesterkin didn't want to talk to the press, and there was a game that nobody spoke to the press afterward. And I know there was a lot of pushback on that. I think, these guys are professional athletes. They're not necessarily there to always answer press questions. Their job is to win a Stanley Cup so they can keep this team in New York for as long as possible, keep selling tickets and keep being successful. And if after that game, there needed to be a big talking to in the locker room and a real big, come to Jesus kind of moment, then that's what they needed to do. It's not about necessarily doing what the fans or the press wants to see. Yeah. So they can answer the same question over and over again. Like, I appreciate sportscasters and reporters and what they do, but it's keeping them focused is not a bad thing. Even when we were waiting for the players before the game, seeing those guys, I know a lot of people were upset. I think VC walked in, he was on, his headphones, very, very determined, walked in, didn't want to sign autographs or stop. But these guys are professional athletes. Let them do their job. There is a time and place where they, they'll sign autographs and they'll stop, but it might not be just before one of the most important games of the season. I'd rather see that passion come out on the ice, which they did.
Yeah, that was fun. I think next time we go, we should just hand them coffees as they come in around the corner from every direction.
There's nothing creepy about that at all. Here, just drink this. Get in this car, I'll give you a ride.
Feels all good. I don't know where they come from, but they always have coffees, and they come from all different directions. I love it. It's so fun. So
it could have been behind one of their handlers getting her, 12 ice caps or whatever that was.
I know,
right? Yeah.
Starbucks.
Yeah.
The 20 order, from
Yes.
right in front of us. I'm like, that's for them. I know that she stands on the corner somewhere.
Yeah.
And all their coffee, so they all come in. It's all good.
Well, on that note, I think what an amazing trip just overall, and I just want to say a special thank you to all the friends and family that we had come out, and the new friends we met and the old friends that we saw. Thank you to everybody who joined us in person on this journey in New York City last week.
so much. I know we did a post to thank as many people as we could. We had breweries that we went to and stopped by. We had bars that entertained us. We met some fun people that seemed to have a lot of things in common with us. We ran into friends and family and people even within the Rangers organization. You know, Joe was great.
Totally.
I love running into him. He's the voice of the Rangers at the games. Larry and Ted and all the random people who knew my name from the bar. It's tall girl, who's good. So it makes it easy to find when we're getting lost. And so and then Liz managed to pop up with a lot of family and friends that were able to entertain us throughout the city with wonderful, fantastic views. There's more to talk about because we did so much. We'll definitely incorporate the shout outs and the thank you. We definitely are going to be inviting a lot of the people that we spent time with to come and talk about things on the show that are, you know, really good insight and definitely want to join, you know, so I'm looking forward to having that as well. We had a fantastic weekend. I'm going to summarize it real quick because we're so tired and sleepy. I mean, I didn't get home till 1 last night. So my wine is just going to help me go to sleep in about an hour. But I know that we broke NHL records this weekend. We tied and broke franchise records this weekend. It was fantastic to see. We're now starting this nice little streak. We want to keep it going. I feel that these next 2 games are really going to show them as a team what they're capable of, what they can do, and get the confidence. What I'd like to see is a little bit more physicality on their part. I think they're still reserved in the shooting. I didn't see the game. I was listening to it and knowing that they didn't score anymore. Hopefully they just shifted their focus from offense to defense to work on that as well.
Yeah.
They did do their job with a lot getting his shutout. We've been waiting for that. What's next? I think the only thing that's next is Igor's goal, right?
That is
Right there.
absolutely happening this season. That is for sure. And I think we are planning on doing a little watch party this coming Saturday. Rangers are it's already here. The Rangers are taking on the Florida Panthers on Saturday, March 25th at 2 p.m. Pacific time. So I think we'll probably be out. We'll post something about that if you are tuning in from the Southern California area.
Is that chance still ingrained in your brain? No, it's gonna be
that one.
Okay, no, we're gonna go, but I'll do the little rower.
And just in general, I mean, what a lovely time with you two ladies exploring the world's most famous arena and the city in which it resides. It was just such a pleasure and so much fun. I think I laughed harder on this trip than I have in such a long time. So thank you for that.
Real quick, Sarah, give me one favorite thing, just one thing. One favorite thing.
That pasta dinner we had with Samara on Wednesday, like it's still ingrained. I'm gonna try and make
I'm
gonna try and make a version of it tomorrow night when I have a clear head. But I bought all the ingredients, and Matt for sure on Friday. Not only great personal experience, but also helped me with some work questions. So that was really beneficial. But honestly, the entire trip, every moment, everything we did is ingrained. Every bit was special. There's nothing that sticks out more than anything else. It was just fantastic.
I kept finding dimes too. I found one at the airport too on my way home. So I found
some good luck.
Well, one wasn't a dime, one was some little weird coin, but looked like a dime. So, mine was the Irish coffee. I mean, there's so much, but I'm like on the spot because just the way you were with the pasta, which I was too with mine, but I was kind of like that with Irish coffees. But I know I took mine and bolted across the bar. It kept moving, but it was creamy and it was tasty. It was so good.
Yeah, we definitely ate and drank very well over the last week.
Yes.
Yes. Give me one favorite.
Oh man, I have to say I really enjoyed our little photo shoot that we did. So we will have some professional photos from one of our amazing followers. Al, thank you so much if you were listening. We so appreciated the afternoon that you spent with us. The three of us were able to take amazing pictures in front of Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena, and some other quite iconic landmarks. So that was really exciting, and I think that was just something super special, and we were very lucky to be able to work with Al on that.
Yay! Yay, it was fun.
It's
So
awesome.
next time we're gonna be talking about these Carolina games. So I think we, in the story, we gotta keep the good vibes going. And manifest those wins. I think we're doing a great job. A lot of good from people who knew, are there with season tickets. The vibe was good. Everyone's kind of feeling comfortable. Lindgren's coming back, so Fox is gonna have his buddy back. I think it's gonna get a little bit more confident on the defensive side. I think we're gonna be looking at more productive shooting. I think playing Carolina in the next 2 games in 3 days. They have the momentum. Hopefully you don't get too tired and we see some really good games. If we can come out of these 2 with wins, watch out. It's just gonna be a great ride from here to the end.
Yeah, watch out, world.
That's
Well,
my
thanks,
prediction.
ladies. Thanks, ladies.